14th year that we have put on this event for small business owners, recognizing and celebrating small business in the Kingsport area in the region.
Thank you all, and welcome to the 2013 Annual KOSBE Awards. As Andrea said, my name's Darren Eskin, and I'm the incoming chairperson for 2014 for the Volunteer Council at KOSBE. First thing I want to do is I want to extend a thanks to Leslie Ridings. Leslie's our outgoing chairman, and without her leadership this year, KOSBE wouldn't have been able to accomplish as much as they've done. This year, KOSBE assisted more than 140 individuals and businesses with counseling and training, helped in the formation of more than $542,000 of capital, and then helped save 5 jobs, created 43 new jobs, and currently our clients from KOSBE have an employment base of over 290 full-time employees and 211 part-time employees in our community. And that's amazing because that's the heartbeat of the Kingsport community. So we have quite an extensive client base. They had total sales of over $28 million this year. So it's pretty impressive. And tonight we come together to celebrate small businesses of all sorts. And I want to thank all the contenders, everybody that went into the application process this year. It takes a lot of guts. I've talked to a lot of folks that have been through this process. You get a once-over by a judging panel that it's quite an educational process. And that's the benefit of it, is that we learn a lot by examining ourselves going through this process. So thanks to those contenders. Also, thanks to our past winners that are here to support. Many of them are sponsors this year, and we greatly appreciate that. It kind of brings it full circle and makes it really a family of small business in the small business community, and we do appreciate everyone's participation in that. So, finally, I'd like to thank our guests tonight. Your interest and support of this community and the small businesses in our community are what make it tick. So, thank you so much. And now I'm going to give it back to Andrea, let her continue with the festivities.
Mr. Jack King. The L.C. King Company recently celebrated 100 years of manufacturing in Bristol, Tennessee. 15 of those years have been under the leadership of fourth-generation owner Jack King. Now, he came to the company from Atlanta, where he worked as an international food seller. L.C. King's label Pointer brand is best known for their work clothes, overalls, jackets, and jeans. And this must have been a great fit for Jack King, because in 2012, King's Company was named as a top 300 business of the South. And after surviving some tough times, and as they work toward another 100 years, Jack King has some big plans, and he wants to add boutique fashion to his factory, which I'm sure that you will be hearing more about. Come on up, Jack.
generations of authentic American workwear. Pointer brand, functional, comfortable, durable, engineered with American strength. Pointer brand, an American original since 1913.
Thank you, Lara, and thanks for not telling any stories. Jack, it's always nice when former coworkers still have nice things to say about you.
Sure is. I like to say good evening, everybody, and I want to tell a little bit of story about what happened to me today. This morning, I had the opportunity to drive into Kingsport at 6 a.m. And when you drive into Kingsport at 6 a.m., you don't have any traffic. And what's great about that is you get to see all about what you all have here that we don't have in other cities in the Tri-Cities. And here's what I saw. Saw a lot of great retail development that wasn't here about 10 years ago. Saw a lot of great restaurants here. I actually drive from Bristol to eat at the restaurants here in Kingsport. As you're driving your all's downtown, it's all cleaned up, looks really good. And you see a lot of smokestacks with steam coming out of them. So it says you got a lot of industrial development going on and people going to work every day. That's unfortunately, you don't see a lot of that going on in Bristol, but that's their own business, but that's what you all have here in Kingsport. So one of the first things I did is I met up with Heath and Jonathan this morning, and they run a export consulting business here in Kingsport. We don't have that in Bristol, which you all are real fortunate to have. You have beautiful Chamber of Commerce here building, and whoever put that together, they need to be commended for. As we went down to Oak Ridge and spent a day in Oak Ridge, we're now driving back into Kingsport, and we get off on Wilcox Drive, and what do I see? 4 hotels. Y'all don't realize we don't have hotels in Bristol. The other thing y'all got is you got a brand new aquatic center. You all have no idea what that's going to do for y'all's community. You're going to have 5 national events once a year, bringing in 500 families at each event. And you have no idea what kind of economic development that's going to help in the commerce and all the transactions and tax-based structure. That's going to help for y'all's community. So, you know, like I said, you don't really get to see what's going on in your own community unless you get to drive in when there's no traffic. And so everyone that's been a part of all that development that's gone on here in Kingsport, I've been watching for the last 10 years. I like to say I noticed it, and all of y'all should be really commended. And whoever was a part of it, they all deserve a round of applause.
Well-deserved applause, I might add, for everybody that works so hard here in Kingsport, but all around the Tri-Cities. And let's talk about something that is going on in Bristol, and that is a resurgence of L.C. King. You took over a company about 15 years ago that was already 80 years old at that point, past 80 years old, but it was very much what you had to do there was entrepreneurial in nature. Would you agree?
I would. When I first walked in that door, we didn't have computers. We didn't have anything electronic. We didn't have a server. We didn't have a phone system. But what we did have was we had a manufacturing plant that used to make a lot of stuff for a lot of other people. We were Bass Pro Shop's #1 hunting apparel supplier. We made all Sears Wear Guard. We were in 700 Walmarts. Then all of a sudden NAFTA happened. And sure enough, all that business walked right down to Mexico, which I won't complain about. Then right after that, we saw another thing happen to us. All of a sudden, the weaving mills and our fabric suppliers started disappearing because they were going down to Mexico. We just sat there and all of a sudden looked at ourselves, so what are we doing? So we started focusing on the brand we'd always been making, but really never had an idea what we were doing with it or telling anybody the story about it. And also, the internet had just started. So when I walked in the door, all of a sudden we had just lost all of our customers, all of our suppliers, and all of a sudden our customer base started shrinking immediately. Because once your customer knows that they can buy it for half the price that you can sell it for, they're going to buy it from somebody else. So that was something that was quite a struggle and quite a shocker to walk into. And so all of a sudden we started redeveloping ourselves and teaching ourselves and trying to take pride on who we are and what are we doing here at this factory in Bristol, and trying to tell a story about what do we have going on in Bristol and who are the people making that stuff. So we started trying to figure out who we are and the message that we wanted to tell everybody. And so we came up with the idea to say, well, why don't we just be truthful with everyone? what we are is we're just an American company making an American product for an American. And so that's something that we're really proud of. We then started shaping our message and getting ourselves on the internet, and went through 2 websites, and then all of a sudden Cumberland Marketing came to us, and they developed a fantastic new website platform for us. It wasn't cheap. Don't think that it is. So anybody who's getting a website, don't think that you're going to get it for a bargain, because it's not worth a bargain. And the other thing that we did is we had a video made. Heath and Jerome made this fantastic video, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but they won the National Addy Award for cinematography 2 years ago. It was the #1 video that was produced that year. That came out of Kingsport. Funny enough, if you go to Carhartt's website, you'll see a video that mimics what they created. And I think that is a testament to the creativity and the good work that Heath and Jerome did in Cumberland Marketing. So I think they all definitely deserve a hand in creating how people are actually telling the story about how manufacturing is done here in America. And it's done with music, and it's done now with video. So now we're faced with this topic. Our supplier has left America. Not many suppliers are weaving fabric anymore. We're losing our customers because all of a sudden they're now buying it at a cheaper price. And then our end customer, he doesn't have a job anymore. And so we're down to 7 employees. And boy, those are some tough days. We hated coming to work. I hated coming to work. But you know what? There's one thing we said was, you know what? We're not going to quit. We're just going to keep at it and just figure this out. And that's one of the little statements I always say. I said, I'll just figure it out. I don't care. And if you personally know me, you know that I have a drive like nobody's business, and I won't quit for nothing. So, 7 employees all of a sudden became 12 employees. And all of a sudden we're 15 employees. And all of a sudden we're starting to get a brand new website. And all of a sudden we're starting to make a better product. And we've developed what our message is. The message is we're not going to compete on price, but we are going to compete on quality and customer service, because we know that you have been ignored out there for some time, and we're not going to do that to you. We're going to treat you the way you want to be treated when you're on the phone or standing in front of somebody. And that's exactly how we actually turned our factory around. 2 things. We're not going to compete on price. We refuse to. But we are going to do is that we're going to take care of the customer no matter what. Now, what's going to happen with that kind of statement is you're not going to please every customer, and you're going to have to cut bait sometimes. And just go ahead and understand that, because you're not going to be able to please every customer. But the one thing you cannot be is you cannot be rude to anyone. That will only be the death of you. So if there's one advice for you have a very difficult situation with a difficult customer, know that you don't know what's going on the other side of that phone or what that person's been through that day. But do not be rude to that individual for nothing, because he will only dog you in the future, and he will come back to you no matter whatever the grievance is he has with you. Sometimes, like we had a hard time when we started changing denims or when we raised our price, and our customer wasn't very happy with that. But what we did is we told them the truth. We told them why the stuff costs so much. To manufacture in America is not cheap. To source your items, the raw materials in America, is not cheap. But if you just be honest with the customer and tell them the truth, they'll love you even more, because not many people are actually telling the truth about what's going on out there in America and what's going on with the product and why it costs so much. So that's one of the things that we've been able to do at the LC King Manufacturing and our brand, Pointer Brand, and just take it to the next step and keep it going.
Let's talk a little bit about who makes this work. You mentioned you got down to 7 employees. You're now pushing 50. But it was important to you to treat those 7 employees like family. How did you keep people motivated when times were admittedly tough?
Well, first thing is that one of the first lessons I learned was, why don't you get upstairs on that sewing floor and actually make what they're making as well, and you participate in the production of this garment. So one of the things I did is I told one of the supervisors, I asked her, I said, give me a job. And so one of the first things I started doing was I made the low back suspender. The second thing I did for the employees is I stopped us bickering. I just wasn't going to allow anyone to have a heartache against another one. And then the third thing is I started loving up on the employee. And one of the things I started doing was, the first thing I did was I hired a fitness coach to train my employees. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, we would have a trainer come to the factory and train the employees and do a 1-hour workout. And since then, we have had the opportunity and the blessing to have a CrossFit gym at the factory. Had some friends of mine who have a CrossFit gym in Morristown. There wasn't one in Bristol. I said, I've got a raw space. I said, I'll give you the space if you put a CrossFit gym in, but here's the rent. I got to have 2 workouts 3 times a week, and you got to have all my employees participate in it as much as possible. Now, you know what? Not everybody's going to do it. But what we have now is, of the 38 people we have working at that factory, all but 4 do not work out, and they wouldn't work out no matter what. It's okay. It's okay. They're not going to. But after we clock in at 7:30 in the morning on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, half the group goes down. They train with Justin. They do a CrossFit workout. If you've never done a CrossFit workout, Dustin is here. He'll be more than happy to tell you about it. It's probably one of the best things we've ever done for the factory. It does 3 things for our employees. It stops them from complaining about the work they're doing. It builds their team experience because they're actually seeing each other struggle and fight to get one more rep and cheer each other on. And the third thing is they no longer complain about the work. They complain about how hard the workout is. And so if you've ever had the opportunity to do CrossFit, everyone in this room can do it. It's geared towards what your level is. It's probably one, just Jim and I have something in common. We're swimmers. I swam all through high school like Jim. We both swam in college. I don't know if you're aware of this. Jim swam at the University of South Carolina. I swam at the University of Georgia. You guys have an aquatic center here. You have no idea how what that's going to do for you. I've seen what it did for Greensboro, North Carolina. So you guys are really blessed to have that here. But if you can do anything as an employer for your employees, give your employees something that they would not give themselves and pay for it. You pay for it. They're not going to pay for it. But if you do that, I promise you, you will retain your employee, and your employee will give it back to you more than you think that you're spending out of your own pocket to help that employee out. So I really think that's a piece of advice on what's going on at that factory.
Yeah. You know, South Carolina and Georgia used to have a little competition. Maybe we ought to hit the pool when we're done here. Let's talk a little bit about reinventing your product as well, because you had been making high-quality jeans, work apparel, as you mentioned, sold in a variety of stores, in a variety of places, and all that went away. How did you go about reinventing your product? Because what sustained you through part of that was a Japanese market that just fell in love with your jeans.
A lot of y'all don't know this, but half the product that's made in that factory in Bristol goes directly to Japan. We're a fashion staple in the Japanese market, and that's something we're really proud of. So with that in mind, what we decided to do was start developing a more sophisticated product for a younger audience. One of the things that we focused on was really the quality of the product and getting the message out so the person knows who is the maker. That is one of the things that we've really worked on, is getting our message out to the customer to tell them who the maker is and introducing them to the actual sewer on the floor through the website, social media, and all the different aspects of making that product. And in that effort, we have started doing collaborations with a lot of high-end designers. We actually make a jacket for a Japanese designer that sells for $3,000 on the marketplace. We actually make a jean for another designer that sells for $350 in the marketplace. The workwear customer has been dumbed down on the price, and asking them to pay $56 for a pair of overalls when they can go to Walmart and buy them for $39 is quite a feat. And again, I'm not going to compete on price because I'm not going to sacrifice my quality. So what we've decided to do was change who we are. And that's one thing, it's a lesson that this story is going to tell you, that you can change and reinvent yourself even after 100 years. Within the next year, we are going to be developing a premium denim brand of selvage denim jeans and premium quality shirting. We found the best and most sophisticated denim, and it sounds sort of weird, sophisticated denim, but it is such a thing, out of Cone Mills in Greensboro, North Carolina. Found some beautiful Japanese shirting fabric, and the guys who makes the Brooks Brothers shirt in North Carolina are going to sew the shirts for us. And then we're going to have a line of jackets. It's all going to be designed by a designer out of New York. It's all going to be made in Bristol. And next year at this time, men and women who buy for men can actually buy fashion for those men in Bristol, Tennessee, where you don't have that opportunity anymore. So you're going to be able to buy, no lie, a jean that's made in Bristol. It costs you $250, but trust me, you're going to want to buy it. And the shirt's going to cost you $180, but you know what? You ain't going to look any better than wearing that shirt that's made in that factory in Bristol.
You are fourth generation family running this. You obviously have a little enthusiasm about what you're doing. Would you have been as enthusiastic about anything else? Does that come with the work, or does that come from it being a family business that you want to see succeed?
What it comes from is feeding those families that have been there. I got a lady that's been there 40 years. Roxanne, my inspector, she's been there 32 years. You know, these people are now my friends. I sit and I eat lunch with them every day. I work out with them every day. I work with them every day. I can assure you, I'm not doing this for the money, but I am doing it for the people that helped raise me. When I walked in that factory, I told everyone, I said, you know, I'm going to feed you for 40 years because you fed me growing up. And so, you know, that's just the commitment I made to all the workers at that factory. You know, these people have spent their entire lives making these jeans and overalls and jackets. And, you know, they've worked for my grandfather, they worked for my dad, now they're working for me. And, you know, each person has had a different way that they have run the factory. My dad used to run it with the iron fist. That's not the style I run it. I run it as a family business because I care about everybody. You know, it's not easy what we do every day. It's not easy to get up and come to work at 7:30 in the morning. It's not easy to get up and come to work at 5:30 in the morning in the summer because I won't run the air conditioning. I'm cheap. You know, I just won't do it. It's too expensive to run air conditioning in a 55,000 square foot facility. But I'm committed to these people and making this factory work. That's why I won't quit. These people fed me growing up. We're a family. You take care of your family. It's not easy. You don't like each other every day. You're not supposed to like each other every day, but you are supposed to love one another and have some kind of compassion and care. And that's just the kind of people we have at that factory.
You obviously like to spend time in the gym. Do you have to take downtime for yourself as well, or do you find yourself working 24/7 when you're awake?
I do. I take off. I get to the factory typically around 6:30 every morning, but I leave at 3 o'clock. I leave, even though I got a CrossFit gym in my own factory. I drive to Johnson City and train with the guy that I've been working out with for the last year and a half, and here's why. I can't have a healthy factory if I'm not healthy. So it's a personal commitment I make to myself to work out every day. After I leave the gym, get back to Bristol about 5 o'clock, I'll spend another hour and a half at the factory when nobody's there. The reason I like leaving at 3 o'clock is that As a sewing floor, we stop working at 3:45. I don't like to hover over my employees at the end of the day. They're already tired. It's not easy picking up 50-pound bundles and moving them across the sewing floor all day long. We have, we work really hard. We're actually, we're using our hands, we're using our backs, we're using our legs. We're actually physically participating in the manufacturing of this company. So one of the commitments I've made to myself is if I'm going to run a healthy factory, I got to keep myself healthy. And so one of the things that I do is I personally take time off for myself. I have to. There's no way. I got to get away from this place. If, just like everybody else, you live, eat, and breathe this thing 24/7, 365. You're working on Christmas. You're working on Easter. Sometimes you can't go to church. It just happens. But you know what? It's worth it in everything that you do, every part of being part of the community. It's worth it for the employees, and it's worth it for yourself. So, I encourage everyone, you got to take care of yourself if you want to take care of that business, and that's just something that's important, and I think something I do.
We're almost out of time. I'm going to give one more question. You were involved in another business when you came home to take this over. Do you think your enthusiasm for this family business is what allowed it to sustain itself, or do you think someone else could have come in and done what you've done? Maybe done it better?
I'm sure somebody could have done it better, but would they have wanted it to do it better? That's the difference. When I first walked in the door, I had never been in that factory ever growing up. Then all of a sudden we hit really hard times, and like I said, it wasn't fun coming there. But you know what? When you start developing a relationship with your employees and start loving on them and them loving you back, it's worth it. And I really think that being able to say that you are the oldest family-owned cut and sewing factory in the United States is something to be proud of. And that's one of the reasons why I think that I have stayed here and have the passion for it and have come back around and said, I'm going to do what it takes to keep these people working. I had the opportunity to actually hire somebody 2 weeks ago, so we got another new employee, this guy Chuck, and he's doing real well. He'd never been in a sewing factory before. He's now doing all the side facing, does a great job. He's now on to his second job. So I think, somebody might have done it better, but I don't think they probably would have done it as good as I have with all the struggles, because they probably would have given up in the middle.
Well said. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it. Want to tell you as well, every pair of Pointer brand jeans, every pair of coveralls, and all of the new LC King line as well, every piece of merchandise that goes out of that facility, they sew a little American flag in it, and I suspect in Japan that's coveted. It is. Let's give a big round of applause once again to Jack King.
Thank you, Jim.